Here's proof of audience.
Hi, my name is Andrew Parker, and I'll be going over the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 crisis. This happened in early September, late August 2016, and the batteries on these phones were combusting while being charged or just randomly. So here's a little quick overview timeline about the better half of 2 months. It started in August when the ports started piling in, and through September, Samsung loses about $10 billion worth in stock value and continues on to October 11th where they permanently discontinue the product. So here are my 3 main points. They're going to be initial response from Samsung, important impacts recall had, and customer trust in Samsung. So let's move on to the initial responses. So the initial response from Samsung, it was immediate and an official statement. And journalists like Melissa Agnes from Forbes would argue that that probably wasn't the right response. She says that a first response would be more necessary in that case. And what a first response is basically just a preliminary document stating what the company is going to do, how they're going to do it, and how they're going to be thinking of you while they're doing it, if anything like this should happen. An example of a bad case of the official response from Samsung was in Hong Kong. The CEO released a statement saying that the batteries were made with a different kind of product, or a different kind of battery basically, but not even a week later, the battery started combusting in Hong Kong as well. So let's have a look at the impacts that had here on domestic soil. AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, all these wireless carriers started to try and distance themselves from this product. So the way that they did that was they offered recall, refund, and exchange and programs for this product to just divert any kind of trust issues between the wireless providers and the customers. And that was a good move on their part because it was a company related issue rather than a wireless issue. Another thing that happened was the FAA stated or warned customers that they wouldn't be allowed on airplanes if they had a Samsung Note 7, and they banned them from being on airplanes because one actually did start smoking on an airplane. So you could see why that might be an issue for people. So what did that do to customer trust? Well, it tested it, but it didn't necessarily break it. Samsung's a company that is based off superconductors and display, and from that two bases, you can kind of derive a bunch of products like TVs, phones, refrigerators, any kind of relevant technology that we use in our modern society, Samsung probably has a product for. So yes, it was a minor hiccup that cost them $10 billion, but in the long run, Samsung survived this crisis and they continue to be profitable. A kind of parallel situation, just to further push that point, is Chipotle and their health crisis. People still love Chipotle, and Chipotle is still making money. So just to kind of recap, we touched on the initial responses. We looked at the impacts of the recall, and we kind of analyzed the customer's trust in Samsung, and we concluded that Samsung is a very diverse company. Cell phones is just one of the many things that they do, and although this was a serious matter that could have risked lives, in terms of the business standpoint, Samsung is going to be all right.